Okay then, let's talk hollowing and sanding. Okay, in this week's video I'm going to answer a subscriber question. Matt asked me about hollowing and sanding the bottom of bowls that have curve on the bottom, not flat. So that's what I'm going to be doing this week, is trying to answer Matt's question. And what I have here in the lathe is I have a piece of what I believe is ironwood. I've had this blank for a long time now, and the guy I got it off told me it was ironwood. I don't know, I've never worked ironwood. Just to speed things up, I have it rounded off and I have the tenon and the wood cut into it. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a bowl that's round on the bottom, that's curved on the bottom, so that I can go through this with Matt. I'll also go through hollowing tools, which is what you're seeing there in the intro. Right, so we'll get on with this and get to the hollowing part as quick as we possibly can. Now this week there's no Yorkshire Grit Bit because well, no Yorkshire Grit Bit like normal. That's a legend. I got asked a question, and I'm going to do my best to answer it. And it's got to do with why I power sand. So it goes into this video because it's about sanding. Right, so I'll put the mask on and we'll get on with this. Now, unlike the compound curve I did a couple of weeks ago, I can't remember when that was, I'm looking for a single curve that comes from there out. I'm going to go to a pull cut so I can get that curve right in. Right, what I'm looking for here, and I'll actually quote Martin Simon Smith on this, right, is I want that curve, if you can imagine it, if it continued, to end up somewhere inside this foot. Yeah, that's nearly there. That curve is just wrong there at the end. Right then. Right, as you follow that down, that curve would end here somewhere. Right then. I'll sand that, and then I'll be back for this Yorkshire Grit Bit, where I will explain why I sand with a power sander and not with an inertial sander. So I'll do that, I'll be back in a sec. Right then, just doing the Yorkshire Grit, and as I said this week, instead of doing the Legend, I'll be answering the questions. And this one has cropped up a few times, so well, seeing as how this is about the subject, I'll answer it. Right, now what I was asked was, how come I use a drill to sand and not an inertia sander? Okay, now people who have been on the channel a while know this, but for some of the new guys, you probably don't. I have a condition called chronic Lyme disease. Now, I've been asked questions about Lyme disease as well, so I'll go into that as well. Right, Lyme disease you get from the bite of a tick. Right, it's a tick is infected with Lyme. And bites you, you're gonna get it. And there's a number of reasons why you figure out why that you have it, right? Number one, but it only occurs in about 50% of cases, is a thing called a bullseye rash. Now, what a bullseye rash is it's a tiny little raised area, but there's a ring of red around it, right? It's hard to describe, so what I'll do is I'll put up a picture of it here. Now, that rash only occurs in, as I said, about 50% of cases, right? The disease itself is called the Great Pretender because it mimics other stuff, right? It gets misdiagnosed constantly, right? So the easiest way I can describe this disease, right, is get MS, right? Get chronic fatigue syndrome, get muscle wastage, get nerve damage, get brain damage, mush them all together, and you get Lyme disease. Right? Now, the thing about Lyme disease is no two cases are actually the same, because it's not only the Lyme disease, it's the co-infections that come with it. It depends on what other infections the tick had. Like, mine was crazy. The amount of co-infections this tick had, he really did the business. Right? One of the ways I've heard it described is it's like we've all seen it in the movies, like a SWAT team going into a house where there's a guy with a battering ram and he batters in the door, and then all the other team rush in behind him. Lyme disease is the guy with the battering ram. He lets everything in, and all the other infections come in and do their damage. Right? With me, what it did was it severely damaged my nervous system. Well, I'm on meds for the rest of my life because of this. Right? It severely damaged my nervous system, damaged my brain. The fatigue is unreal. Like, if I'm not on my meds, I'm basically walking around looking at a year-old man, and I'm tired constantly. Right? The meds only last for a certain amount of time in the day, and then they wear off. Right? In Ireland, the standard treatment is not correct. Right? There's one doctor in the country who treats it, and it takes ages to get on his list. Right? But by the time you get on his list, the damage has been done. And the thing is, with the Lyme disease, they can stop it doing more damage, but they can't reverse the damage. Right? What the virus is a thing called a spirochete. It looks like a corkscrew, and what it does, it actually drills into you, which is why it's so hard to treat, apparently. Right, now, the reason that I don't use an inertia sander is I can't hold it. I can't hold onto it. Right, like this, holding onto this now hurts. Right, but you kind of get used to the pain, right? But holding onto an inertia sander, right, holding onto something like that, I can't do, because after a couple of minutes, the feeling goes on my hands and it just slips out. I've tried using them and I just can't. I had one and I got rid of it because I can't use it. So hopefully that will answer some of the questions about Lyme disease, and it will answer the question is, why do we use a drill and not an inertia sander? The reason is because I can't use it. So I'll get on with this. The legends will be back again next week, right? And I'll be back when I'm doing the wax. So I'll see you in a minute. Alright then, just buffing the wax off. So I hope that's cleared up any questions anybody had about why I do stuff a certain way and about Lyme disease. This is turning out quite nice. It's very strange wood. There's a lot of little internal voids in it. As I said, I'm told it's ironwood, but I've never used ironwood before, so I don't know. So if everybody could take a close look at this wood, and if they recognise it as ironwood, if you just confirm it is ironwood, and if you recognise it as something else, if you just drop me a comment. You see, there's loads of these little voids in it. So it's strange wood. Right, it doesn't feel all that hard to cut. Right, it's not what I would imagine ironwood would cut like, because it's really cuts really easy. So if you have any ideas, if you wouldn't mind, drop it in the comments what this wood is. Right, now we'll flip this over and we get to the point of this video, which is the hollowing bit and the sanding bit. Right, the macro camera, I'll get as close as I can to the tip of the gouge, and we'll go from there. Right then, we're flipped around and ready to hollow. Right, before we start hollowing, I'm going to go through the tools that I used for hollowing. Right, number one is obviously your basic bowl gouge. Right, this is a 1/2 inch with a long Irish grind on it, because that's the way I like them. The angle on this is somewhere around 60 degrees. I couldn't tell you exactly what it is. Right, then you have a bottom feeder. Right, a bottom feeder is for, let's say I'm coming in there, and in order to keep bevel contact, this part of the gouge hits the edge of the bowl. It means I can't, there is a way of doing it and I'll show you it, but I can't really keep it in contact. A bottom feeder, because of its angle, stays out here all the time. Right, and what it is that's ground, and I can't tell you the exact, but it's probably around about an 80 degree angle, right, just on the tip there, so that I can keep the gouge out here and run across while keeping bevel contact. Right, then there's a negative rake scraper. Right, a negative rake scraper is very handy if you're having problems in the bottom of a bowl. Right, and what it is there's an angle there and there's an angle there. With a normal scraper you can get catches and you kind of have to tilt it down a little bit. With this, it's dead flat and it's nearly impossible to get a catch with it. Right, the important part on a negative rake scraper is that the inclusive angles are no more than 70 degrees. Right, this one is a 35 adds up to 70. Right, that's the way I like it. Not to mention the fact, if I need to use this in the outside of a bowl, all I got to do is flip it over, raise the bore going that way, and I can use it on the outside because the angles are exactly the same. Right, what actually cuts is a bore. There's a raised bore there on this top edge. Right, on the top edge of the negative rake, there's a raised bore, and it just basically gets sharpened like normal. It goes onto a thing and just turn it. It goes onto the grinding wheel thing. Right, this is part of the Lyme disease. You forget how to say words. It's called brain fog. Hang on. This. Alright, you use this to sharpen them. And you set that at a 35 platform. That's not the right word either, but you know what I'm talking about. Alright, set it at 35 and you sharpen it on this side, which raises a board there, and that's what you cut with. And then of course there's always a carbide, right? Used as a scraper. If you're using it, turn it to a 45-degree angle. Try not to do it flat, because it'll really tear the hell out of the grain. That way you have a hope, right? And that's really about it for sharpening tools, right? Or for hollowing tools, I mean, sorry. Right, now we'll get to this. First thing I'm going to do, of course, is face it off. And then a habit I have is to mark the width of the wall. It just makes it easier. Right, so I'll throw the mask on and we'll get on with this. And I said I'll try and get the macro camera as close as I can so you can see what I'm doing. And I'll show you a few things that go wrong when you're hollowing and why they go wrong. Right, so I'll get the mask on and we'll start on this. Right, I'll find the width of the edge. Right, and then I'm going to start right. Alright, I'm going to move that camera in so we can get as close as I can. It'll probably be in shot of this camera, but it's more important that you see what I'm doing. Now, hopefully, that's perfectly in shot. Right. First thing I'm going to show is, right, sometimes when you're going into a bowl, the gouge skids, and what happens is you're coming in, right, see it's skidding back there, you're coming in too flat, right? What you do is go right outside and then turn your gouge. Right on the side, turn your gouge. Right on the side, turn your gouge. Right, and that's how it goes. Right, another thing you gotta watch for is try and leave stuff in the middle. Right, it keeps the bowl solid as you're turning. Reposition that camera again so you can see the whole lot. So I'm trying to get this whole thing in shot here. Now another thing is, what part of the gouge do you cut with? Right, now there's a load of ways of cutting a bowl, right? You can cut with this wing, which is that. Right, you can cut with a tip, which is that. Or you can cut with this wing, which is my preferred one, because you get a nicer cut. You get a much nicer cut with that inside wing, right? And then you just keep going. Watching your wall width. And then all these notches you put in it just makes it really easy to re-engage the gauge. Now, if you're going to use a negative rake scraper, try and do the bowl in sections, right? Where do I put it? There, right? Because bowls will warp, and what you're looking for is that cutting edge there on center line when the tool is flat, which that is now, right? And it's just a simple matter of a pull. Or a push. And that will get rid of your tool marks, if you have any, right? It also gives quite a decent sandable surface. Right. Start taking these out again. Negative rake scrape it again. So they don't have to come up too high with the negative rake scraper. Now there's a little bump there I can feel, so I'm not happy with that. So go again. Still a slight little bump just there, so I'm going to feather it in. Feather it in and feather it out, just to take the bump out, like that. Right, and then to give myself the same sanding surface, I'm going to negative rake scrape it. That gives me the same sanding surface again. Now, that overhang is getting to where it's getting iffy, right? So what I want to start doing is taking that middle down so I can get that tool rest further in. Stop the piece and get the tool rest in. Spin it, check I'm not touching, right? And then we just go back to hollowing. Negative rake scrape that. Keep the sanding surface the same. check it, it's fine. Right, now I'm going to move this camera again to make sure I'm focused on the right spot. Right, this is where Matt seems to be having the problems. It's at the base. Right, now I'll put another edge on this gouge. Right, so we just start taking it down. Right, now that's flat at the moment. Right, the finish cut, I'll come in, I'll pick up the cut, I'll go up and then down to keep the bevel in contact. Right, I check my wall width, loads. Right, so I'm going up and down towards the middle to keep bevel contact. Right, if you lift your bevel, right, you're gonna get a really bad cut down there. Just need to feather here a little bit. There was a bit of a bump. Yeah, it's gone now. Right, right. If you just try and go straight across, your bevel is gonna lift, right, because it can't go straight. In order to keep the bevel contact, you need to come up and down. It's the same as doing a flat bottom bowl. You should always go up and down no matter what bowl you're doing. Right, just take it away going straight. Right, now I'll show you that cut. Right, you can see the difference between the cut. Like that is a beautifully smooth cut. Right, that is rough as hell. Right, it's because I was going flat. Right, now if you watch the gouge up and down to the middle. Right, so down to the middle. Do not go straight across. Right, now if I have enough space there, I'll show you this. Yeah, I do. Right, now there's a thing you can get in the middle. Right, and it's from tip riding. Right, and some of you will recognise this. You see that ring, the way it's dented in, and there's a slight ring there. What's happened there is, look, I hope the camera's picking that up, I can feel it. Right, what's happened there is I've come off the bevel and I've tip rolled the middle. Right, the tip of the gouge has gone around in a circle in the middle, so I've ended up with a little ring there and a dent in the middle of it. Right, and you'll always find there's a tiny raised thing in there. Right, as I said, I hope the camera's picking this up. Right, that's you call tip riding, and you've tip rolled the middle of it. Right, that can be totally gotten rid of if you go up and down. Just adjusting this tool rest for a sec. Right, that can be totally gotten rid of if you go up and down. Right, you won't get that because you're never going to actually tip right. Up and down. And you don't get that little ring of death in the middle. Right, that's gone. The little bump in the middle is gone. The whole lot's gone. And now, because of that I've negative brake scraped everything else, and I'll negative brake scrape this, to give myself the same standing surface to start with. Seems to be a bump there. I don't like that surface. a better surface. What I'll do is I'm going to take one finish cut all the way around this, because I don't like the surface that I'm getting off that negative rake scraper. Nope, there's a ridge there. I got it. Right. Yeah, that's better. Right. Now the cut's there, right? There's no tear out in it. Right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to answer Matt's second question, which is about sanding. Right. Now, right, I'll move this back so you can see what I'm doing. Right. Hopefully that's right. Sorry about all the camera movement, but I'm trying to show what the thing is, what the story is with it. Right, Matt is having a problem sanding the bottoms of these. And Matt uses an inertia sander. So I'll stick on the extraction. Right, so hopefully you can hear me over all of this. Right. Stand it all the way up to the edge for it. This is 120 grit. Right. Say where Matt is having the problem is probably here. Right, I'll do this bit without that being on, just so you can hear me. Right, I'd say where Matt's having a problem is there. Right. Now, what I'm looking at, right, I'll switch to the top camera for this. Right. Where I'm looking to be sanding with is there, up here. I don't want here to touch at all. Right? I don't want there to touch the wood at all. I want to be sanding with up here, this edge. Right, couple of reasons. Right, that edge is moving. That's in the middle is basically still. Right, but if you look at it, that curve there will follow the curve in the bowl. That's flat. That won't follow anything. Even with the squashiness there of the pad, that's not enough, right? If that is hitting the bowl, if the center of this pad is hitting that bowl, it's not going to sand properly. I want to be sanding with up here, about the top third of it. Right, and it'll be the same thing with an inertia sander. That's the part you use, the top third, not the whole thing. Right. Now with sandpaper, right, your first grit is your workhorse. That's going to get rid of tool marks, slight imperfections, anything like that. The grits below that are there to get rid of the marks of the previous sandpaper, nothing else. They're here to get rid of the marks of the previous sandpaper, that's all. Right? So you should be spending most times with your first grit. Right? And only use the top third of the pad. Right, come across and go across the middle. Right, you can see by that any tool mark or anything else is gone. The curve is there and it's perfect. Right, and all you can see are swirl marks of this sandpaper, of this 120. Right, now I'm gonna go on to 150. Right, another thing with sandpaper is you should never go more than double. If you're doing 80, don't go higher than 160, because 160 is double. Right. If you're using 120, don't go higher than 240, because it won't work. The jump is too much, it won't take out the scratches of the previous sandpaper. And always try and sand both directions if you can. If your lathe doesn't have reverse on it, then reverse your drill if you can. Right, Matt, I know you don't use a drill using inertial sander, so if you don't have reverse on your drill on your lathe, then you might be in a little bit of trouble, right, because you can't reverse. Right, but I'd say that's what your problem is, Matt. You're using too much of this pad. You're only supposed to use about that much of it. Right, so I'll turn the extractor back on and get this interior finished. And I'll be back when I'm putting the wax on. So I'll see you in a minute. Alright then, just buffing the wax off. Now, something that might help with this identification, wood identification, as I said, I'm not sure if this is ironwood or not. I was told it was, but I'm not sure. Because as I said, it could well be. But I've always imagined ironwood to be like rock to cut, and this wasn't like that. It seems to hold a lot of internal pressure because the bowls are picking up a hell of a warp. And I would also say that it's quite oily, because I had to actually wax it twice to get a shine on it. The first thing of wax kind of soaked into the wood and it went dull, so I want to put a second coat on, which seems to be holding. So there it is. Right. As I said, you can still see all the internal voids that are in this wood, although it's very smooth. It's very smooth apart from when you hit those voids. Right, I'll take it off and I'll give you a better look at it. So I'll do that and I'll be back in a sec. Right, there it is. A little what I think is ironwood bowl, but I'm not 100% sure. As I said, if anybody can help identify this, if you drop it in the comments. Something I will tell you is it's as light as a feather. There's barely any weight in that at all. Right. So I hope that answered your questions, Matt. If you have any more, if you want clarification on something, just ask me. I also hope it answered the questions on the Lyme disease and why I don't use an inertial sander, all that kind of stuff. So if you got anything out of that, and or if you just liked it, if you wouldn't mind clicking like on the video, and I'll see you in the next one.